Leaving the car running to warm up in winter is essential for your engine. On a freezing winter morning, most people head out, start their car, and let it sit for a while before driving off. It's a ritual passed down from parents and grandparents. The idea that a car needs time to warm up, or else the engine will suffer. For older cars, that belief actually had some truth. Back then, vehicles relied on carburetors, which weren't great at regulating fuel on their own. Giving the car a few minutes to idle helped keep everything running smoothly. But times have changed. By the late 1980s, carburetors were swapped out for fuel injectors, and that completely rewrote the rules. Modern engines are packed with sensors that instantly measure temperature and adjust fuel flow with pinpoint accuracy. Translation: they don't need that old school warm-up time. In fact, idling too long can do more harm than good. The extra fuel being dumped in can sneak past the piston rings, wash away protective oil from the cylinder walls, and slowly chip away at the engine's health. Hey, just before we continue, be sure you hit that subscribe button to the channel down below for more content like this. Using your mobile phone at the petrol station will cause an explosion. Every driver knows the drill. Pull up the pump, spot the warning signs, and quickly stash the phone like it's a stick of dynamite. But here's the twist. The fear that a mobile signal could ignite fuel vapors is more myth than reality. A BBC investigation dug into this, with a doctor from the University of Kent reviewing 243 gas station fires worldwide over 11 years. Not a single one was traced back to a cell phone. The Federal Communications Commission backed this up, confirming no evidence of phones sparking explosions. So why the signs? They're more about distraction than danger. Sure, it's still smart to keep your phone down while fueling, but not because it might blow up the station. If a car crashes, there will be an explosion. In the movies, especially the Fast and Furious kind, every car crash seems to end in a roaring fireball. But in reality, cars just aren't that explosive. Hollywood loves to make us think that the second a bumper taps a tree, you should dive for cover before the whole thing blows sky high. The truth? It takes a lot of work to make a car erupt like that, and filmmakers do it because, let's face it, a crash without flames doesn't exactly get your heart racing. In the real world, cars are built with safety in mind. Engineers spend years designing features to keep explosions from happening, not cause them. That's why it is incredibly rare for a car to actually blow up after a crash. One of the best examples of this came from the show Mythbusters. In their episode, Crash and Burn, the team set out to see if movie-style explosions could happen in real life. At first, every attempt failed. No fireballs, no drama, just wrecked cars. It was only after they heavily modified a vehicle and hurled it off a cliff that they finally got the big, cinematic boom. So while the movies make it look like cars are ticking time bombs, the reality is much less explosive and a whole lot safer. Refuel in the mornings to get more for your money. Back in the day, plenty of parents rushed out the door during the school run, eager to swing by the gas station before the sun came up. The idea was simple. Cooler mornings meant denser fuel, and denser fuel meant more bang for your buck. It was a belief passed down through generations, and many drivers carried it with them into adulthood, swearing that early morning fill-ups were the secret to saving money. But here's where things get interesting. According to Storingi, natural gas isn't just hanging out above ground, waiting for the sun to mess with it. Nope, it's stored over 500 meters underground in giant salt caverns, where the temperature barely changes. That means the fuel you're pumping is the same density no matter if it's early morning, midday, or late at night. So those crack of dawn fill-ups, totally unnecessary, unless you just like having the gas station all to yourself. SUVs are safer than cars. Many people look at an SUV size and instantly assume bigger must mean safer. It's a huge part of why families gravitate toward them. After all, what parent wouldn't want the biggest shield possible for their kids on the road? But size alone doesn't tell the whole story. Today, whether it's a giant SUV or a tiny compact car, most vehicles are loaded with the same core safety features: airbags, anti-lock brakes, stability control, and even systems that warn drivers when a crash might be coming. And thank goodness for that, because the statistics reveal a surprising truth. SUVs are actually more likely to end up in accidents compared to many smaller vehicles. Their size and weight can make them harder to control, especially in sudden maneuvers. On top of that, when big SUVs are involved in crashes, they often put others, like drivers in smaller cars or even pedestrians, at greater risk. American cars are made in America. Car companies love to wave the Made in America flag, and for decades, that phrase carried a lot of weight. The U.S. once had a booming car industry, with factories humming in nearly every corner of the country. But over the years, many of those plants closed their doors. The reason? Building cars overseas often costs less, and global supply chains make it easy to source parts from anywhere. These days, even if a car rolls off an American assembly line, chances are its parts have traveled farther than most people ever will. Engines, transmissions, or electronics might be made overseas, shipped to the States, and placed together here. Or in some cases, certain U.S.-made parts get sent abroad, assembled into a vehicle, and then shipped back. The truth is, finding a car built start to finish entirely in America is almost impossible. Still, brands like Ford and Chrysler proudly market their vehicles as American-made, banking on the image of homegrown craftsmanship. Change oil every 3,000 miles. For years, people have been told that car oil needs to be changed every 3,000 miles. It became almost like gospel advice, passed down from mechanics and drivers alike. But here's the twist. Modern engines and improved oil technology have made that rule pretty outdated. Today, most car manuals recommend oil changes at 5,000, 7,000, or even more miles, depending on the vehicle. The real secret, though, isn't just about mileage. It's about how the car is driven. Short, quick trips may sound harmless, but they don't give the oil enough time to heat up properly. When that happens, sludge builds up faster, and the engine wears down sooner, meaning oil changes need to happen more often. On the flip side, drivers who spend time on longer journeys actually give their engines a chance to work smoothly. The oil warms up, flows better, and provides stronger protection, stretching the time between oil changes. Manual transmissions are better for fuel economy. The battle between automatic and manual transmissions has been going on for what feels like forever, with each side swearing their choice is the better one. And, of course, like in any great debate, myths start flying around, some so common that people just assume they're true. One of the biggest myths out there is that manual cars always get better gas mileage. Sure, that used to be the case years ago when automatics weren't as advanced. Back then, manuals really did give drivers an edge at the pump. But times have changed. Automatic transmission technology has improved so much that the gap in fuel economy has almost disappeared. In fact, in some cases, automatics can even match or outperform manuals. It's a perfect example of how the car world never stands still. What might have been true in your dad's or granddad's day doesn't always hold up anymore. The game keeps evolving, and if that trend continues, automatics might one day leave manuals completely behind in terms of fuel efficiency. Cop cars are faster than ordinary cars. A lot of people like to imagine that police cars come with hidden superpowers, like a secret turbo button that makes them faster than anything else on the road. It sounds believable too. After all, how else would they catch the bad guys? But the truth is a little less dramatic. Police cars aren't magically faster than the vehicles everyone else drives. In fact, if someone owns a proper sports car, chances are their ride could easily outrun a police cruiser at a straight drag race. What makes police cars special isn't raw speed, it's the way they're built. Departments usually choose models that balance decent speed with strong handling, durability, and the ability to handle long hours of tough use. And here's where the real advantage kicks in: the drivers. Police officers often go through advanced pursuit and defensive driving training, which means they can push their cars to the limit in ways the average driver never could. That combination of skill and purpose-built vehicles is what gives the impression that police cars have superpowers, even if there's no hidden turbo button under the hood. Electric cars more likely to catch fire. Electric cars are showing up everywhere these days, and it's easy to see why. The technology keeps improving, they're more reliable than ever, and a lot of drivers like the idea of cutting back on emissions by swapping out their old gas guzzlers. For many people, it feels like the future is already here. Still, not everyone's on board. A lot of people worry that electric cars are basically rolling fire hazards. And hey, that sounds scary, especially when a few headline-grabbing stories have blown that fear way out of proportion. But here's the twist. When you actually look at the numbers, gas cars are the real troublemakers. They're way more likely to catch fire and even explode than electric ones. In fact, according to the National Fire Protection Association, the risk is about 5 times higher if you're driving a gas-powered car.